Hey everyone, my name is Yarrow and you're listening to the DIY Small Business Podcast. Hi, wow, it's been a moment. I'm gonna share why I took an unexpected break in a moment, but yeah, I just wanted to say, hey, welcome back, welcome to this new year. Really glad you're still with me, and I'm excited to see what this year will bring for all of us and for this podcast. I have many more ideas up my sleeve, but we'll get to that in time, not just yet. I'm really sorry if the sound quality of this particular episode isn't so great. That's because I'm sitting in bed recording just with my computer and I couldn't get to my microphone. But I'm also happy to say that I've hired the wonderful Emily Crosby to help me with podcasting tech. We'll start with my other podcast, Daydream Rolls, which you might enjoy as well. And we'll just kind of see how we can improve the sound quality for each episode and also do some background tech work together that hopefully will make the whole thing more exciting. And yeah, I will share more about that process when it's more towards completion, because I know some of you are podcasting as well or thinking about starting a podcast, so that might be interesting to explore together. But anyway, today I just want to give you a few updates. I want to share about where I'm at in my business and planning the year and riding the waves of this New Year's resolutions energy with as much grace and rest as possible. And I'll also say that the Embodied Business Community is open with 3 more spots being available, and say a little bit more about that as well. So first, my update is that I broke my leg in a really wild way. I know this is going to be funny one day. Right now it's still too painful to be funny, but basically on New Year's Eve I was going to be home alone. I was feeling really content. I had already had almost 2 weeks off because I planned a longer winter break this year, and I was kind of in the space of like, well, you know, the pandemic really sucks, obviously. I miss friends, I miss casual cuddles, I miss my family, but I was kind of in this like cocoony space of reading lots and being off Instagram and just kind of not rushing into the new year but taking it easy, and I was feeling quite okay about things. And then on New Year's Eve I wanted to order a takeaway, didn't feel like cooking, and there was lots of ice outside. You know where the story is going. I opened my door and literally just did one step out of my door. Don't do that, kids. It's dangerous. And I slipped on black ice and I broke my leg in such a weird way. Like, I was brought to hospital to A&E at first, which was a bit of a nightmare, not gonna lie, because of the pandemic, and everyone was super kind and really did their very best. But at the same time, everything is so overstretched. It's truly heartbreaking to see that from the inside, what it means for healthcare systems to collapse, really. But again, that's another story. So anyway, I was brought into hospital and everyone kept saying like, wow, like how did you do that just falling over? This is such a weird break. I broke both my bones in the left leg, and then the ankle was affected as well. So I needed a lot of metal work, which was hard, not gonna lie again. I'm still wrapping my head around having so much metal in my body now. I can feel it. It's hurting, obviously. I've just been, it's just been 10 days that I had surgery, and I needed to wait 9 days to have surgery in hospital. So I was in there for 10 days, which is obviously unusual for a broken leg. It's usually not that big of a deal, but that was because my surgery kept being cancelled because it was just so overloaded, the hospital. Eventually I did have surgery. It was very long, took 4 hours to put things back together, and now I'm home and I'm really, really grateful to be home. I think I'm healing pretty well. I've been back in hospital once. I have another appointment on Thursday, and it is exhausting and frustrating sometimes because I have 2 dogs and I've hired people to walk them, which is mainly going really well. But obviously it's costing a lot of money. I really miss my walks. We used to be out hiking every single day, like rain or shine. That was something that really got me through the winter month and the lockdown. And now I'm completely stuck at home, which is different. And I think there's a lot to learn here from me, and I'm really open to that, and I want to embrace that, but also not bypass the frustration that I'm also feeling and the pain that's really real. But yeah, I do think that I have a lot to learn about patience and yeah, really rooting down into my home. I have not been in this home for very long, but I already really, truly, deeply love it so much. I bought this home last summer, and it's the first place in the UK that I own. I have a mortgage now. It's very small and very sweet and simple. And that's giving me a lot of freedom, because obviously it's much more affordable than renting in terms of monthly expenses. And it's just nice to be in my own space and to put down roots in this way that I never have before. I have a garden now. I planted like 100 spring bulbs and they're just coming up now. And it's interesting because when I was planting them, I really thought like, oh my God, like there's so much gardening stuff that really I'm still growing into. I don't have a ton of experience. There's not much I know, but I was like, spring bulbs, you kind of can't go wrong with them. Like they either come up or they don't, and they're gonna be beautiful. And I really planted them with this feeling of like, by the time they come up, I will really need them. But I had no idea how much I would really need them. And I think that makes me think a lot just about how cyclical being in business is as well. And how much we do for our future selves, and how it's really kind of like this spiral path of revisiting certain questions like, how do I do this in capitalism? How do I stay true to myself and my values? How do I price my work? What do I really want to do? How do I want to spend my time? And those questions, I think, never fully go away, but I think with each year and each cycle that I go through these seasons, it becomes clearer and easier. And what I'm feeling really strongly right now is that I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm no longer with these really big questions of like, who even am I in business? What do I want to do? It's much more about refining and simplifying and making things easier and nicer, which is so nice to see, because the first few years were different and harder in lots of ways, and that's no longer true. So where I'm at with business planning for this year, I think, is that I don't want to rush into New Year's resolutions. I think the time is not right for me. I'm so still, literally, and I really want to honor the decisions and the groundwork that I have already done. And in the community work that I'm doing, I'm really wanting to encourage people to do the same, regardless of where you are in your business. Even if you're just 2 weeks in right now, there are things that you have already done, and it's really nice to take a moment to just appreciate yourself for doing that and having done that already. And so an example could be in my business, for example, I have really good software systems. Like I have a Patreon account, and I use MailerLite for newsletters, and I have a bunch of other small things. And they're all pretty simple. They all integrate really well, meaning that as much as possible it's automated. And they're also not too expensive. My software costs overall are pretty low, in comparison to how many different aspects my business has in that. I'm teaching courses, and I have a newsletter, and, all that kind of different stuff. And that makes me happy, because I'm sitting in bed now really needing to be so intentional with my time and energy, because I mainly just need to be still and heal my leg. And I'm seeing that nothing is collapsing because I have built good foundations, and that took time. I'm approaching my 6th birthday now, and so my 7th year. But it's not rocket science, that stuff can be figured out, and that's cool to see. And I really invite you to take a moment here at the beginning of the year, before you set intention, to just honor yourself for everything that you have already done, that's already in place for you, that has maybe carried you through the pandemic in some way. And even if your business has really suffered, I know that's true for so many of us. There's so much, uncertainty, anxiety, all those feelings are valid as well. But you have held on to an idea, at least, or a vision that you've had, and you're still listening to business podcasts, which means you still believe that, you are in business in some way. And that's really cool. So let's celebrate that. Yeah. And I think, Imbolc is coming up at the beginning of February, where we're beginning to see spring coming through, and how can we see that in our own bodies, in the way that we relate to our energy levels, to really just plant these tiny seeds right now and giving them a little bit more time, and recognizing that the season is still, it's cold, it's about intentional dreaming and resting. And I know that's so easy to resist. Like, I've been, on some level thinking about resting for years, and that's something I often talk about. It's really important to me. And it's really important to me in the context of being an anti-capitalist person. But being in hospital for 10 days, I was really noticing how much I waste energy just resisting rest, just fiddling with my phone, trying to stay up on top of the news and organizing things and voice messages and stuff. It's hard. It's really hard. It's such a long process, and I'm really committed to it. And I think something that has helped me is to really ask myself what it means to be intentional with my rest and my dreaming. Because I think sometimes unintentional rest is totally fine too. Like, the last 2 weeks I've spent a lot of time just watching crappy stuff that it was nice to switch my brain off, I think. And I didn't feel like reading. I didn't feel like just sleeping or looking at the ceiling or something. I wanted to do something, and I wanted to be a bit distracted. And so I watched stuff, and that's cool. But there's also been other periods of more intentional resting, where I would do like meditations around pain relief or falling asleep, and then having a nap, and that felt really nice. And there was just more of this sense of like, I'm really going into this with the intention of healing and making space for new ideas to come through that maybe I'll work on in the spring or summer. And I think another aspect that makes this intentional to me, I think, is also keeping track of ideas and really keeping a journal and holding on to all these little sprinkles or like glitters that come through. And even if we don't want to work with them right away, just noting them down, I think, is telling the universe and my mind that I'm appreciating them and I'm open to more. Yeah. That's where I'm at. I'm going to offer a business clarity workshop, which I usually do at the end of January, but I just don't feel ready right now. But it is going to come in February, and I trust the timing will be just perfect. I'll announce that on here and on the newsletter, so if you look out for that, I'll announce that soon. And the other news is that the Embodied Business Community is open. We have 3 spots left. There's 15, so I open the community 3 times a year for 15 new people. And that's because I want to keep it intimate and not too big. And most of the spots have gone to the people that have already been on the wait list. But there's 3 spots left, so have a look in the link in the show notes if you're interested. It will open again in summer, so this is definitely not the last time that you can join. But it's a year-long program. It includes a course at the core, which has 10 modules, and it teaches everything that I know about business and have learned over the years, and you can take that in your own time over the year. You can trigger an email sequence that kind of leads you through it week by week if you like. We also do a live version of the course from September to November each year. And then we have so many live things. I think there's around 30 calls that are live per year. So there's really a lot that you can dip into if you want to. We have monthly tech support hours where you can come with any tech problems or share screens and find a solution. We have themed workshops which you can request. There's at least one a month, and we often talk about things like pricing, money, accessibility, building a Patreon, social media, newsletter building, all that kind of stuff. Then we have a monthly co-working space, which is a 2-hour block in which we just quietly work together and get shit done that's kind of a bit boring and that we've maybe been neglecting, and people always say like that's really cool, and they really just do the thing and then it's done. We have group support sessions once a month, which are really sweet, and people just bring whatever is present in their business at the moment that they're working on. and then we talk about it together. We have quarterly business planning sessions, which allow us to kind of take more of a bird's eye view and look at the bigger picture and journal together. And then, of course, there's the network on Mighty Networks, which we chat about in every week. We have Monday accountability posts in there where you can state what you're working on that week, and then you can see how that goes. and then you also get a 30-minute one-on-one session with me to kind of get you started. And yeah, I think the benefit of it being a year-long thing is, like, I always strongly felt that building a business doesn't fit into like an 8-week course. There's just so much stuff, and it's really hard to work through something so deep that opens up so many questions by yourself in a short period of time. So I wanted to offer something that's really much bigger, that has a lot of community support in it, and that allows you to also work in a cyclical way. So people definitely they sometimes step back, sometimes they have periods of much deeper engagement where they get a lot done and they come to calls every week and are really excited, and then we rest, and that's okay. And there's always enough people to find someone in there who is where you are at right now and who has similar questions and wants to talk to you, and that's important to me. The downside, of course, is that you have to take responsibility for your own experience in the program. There's nothing forcing you to take the program in 8 weeks and show up to every single call. It is up to you to kind of think about what you want to get out of it and to communicate that and to ask for what you need and what your questions are, and to share your journey and your wins and your struggles, and to really let us celebrate you in that. So yeah, I'll link to that in the show notes, and like I said, it also opens again in the summer. Okay, I think that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.